So last time we talked about pricing from a strategic perspective, um, and we talked about the different types of pricing strategies. So we talked about cost-based pricing, we talked about competitive-based pricing, we talked about value-based pricing, and then we talked about the idea that in reality, pricing is often a combination of those factors, because for most products you do need to make a certain amount of margin because you have other products in your portfolio that you need to sort of be compared, that you're being compared against. So that really leads to a cost-based kind of model. You also have competitive products in the retailer or online or whatever that you are being compared against. And so you have to think about what your competition is doing because you don't want to be way out of line with what they're doing. And then ideally, and for most, you have a brand, and when you have a brand, you're often talking about value-based pricing. That view of pricing is a little bit too simplistic because the reality is that pricing is dynamic, right? You don't set a price and then never reset it ever again. And so today what we're going to talk about is sort of the dynamics of pricing and how you may strategically use changes in your pricing or not use changes in your pricing depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So we're going to talk about the pricing dynamics, and then we're going to talk about pricing tactics, because as we all know, the price of something the prices that you pay today isn't the same price that you always pay. There are sales, there are other ways that companies sort of tweak price, use price differently at different times of year, or different times, and 1 week to the next, they might be on sale, not on sale, and that leads to sort of a much more robust view of pricing in reality. Next time, we're going to talk about yet another sort of issue with pricing that just sort of talks about kind of what happens to prices over the long term. So we're going to talk about two concepts: inflation and commoditization in the next session. But for right now, I wanted to talk about how companies use pricing dynamically. So the reality is, so we often talk about pricing sort of in economics as if supply and demand set price, and that's definitely true. But there are a lot of things that go into, what kind of pricing strategies you use. So if you look on the left, you see this diagram that talks about dynamic pricing. Obviously, what kind of demand there is. So your demand can change, right? I mean, selling skis in the summer is different than selling skis in the winter, or the demand for Coca-Cola on a hot day on a beach may be different than the demand for Coca-Cola, at a ice skating rink or something, whatever it is. So you have different demand. You have demand that is playing a role. But you also have availability. So that's the supply, right? So this is the typical things that we think of. Has supply changed? Is it, there's an egg shortage. Right now, while I'm recording this, there happens to be an egg shortage. So does that lead to higher prices? Or sometimes gas prices go way up because of how much gas supply there is and whatever. So availability, supply obviously has an impact, and supply and demand change over time depending on what's happening. Obviously, during the pandemic, there was suddenly a limited supply of and a heightened demand for masks, right? Which doesn't exist right now. So, that has an impact on how you may price and so forth. We talked about competitive pricing. It's not just what did your competitors price their product at, but how are they changing their price all the time? Are they doing sales? Are they doing buy one get one kinds of promotions or whatever it is? You may have to change the way you're pricing based upon what competitors are doing, or maybe they just completely dropped the pricing of their product because they have a new product coming out. They're trying to sort of get rid of inventory, whatever it is. So you have to sort of understand that pricing, again, is dynamic. And then, of course, there's a forecast of what do you think is going to happen? Do you expect that, something's going to change? Maybe you're thinking that a competitor is going to come in and, launch a new product. So in order to stop them from stealing product, share, you might run some kind of promotion that sort of drives people to buy a lot of your product and stock up. Again, sort of a buy one, get one, or a buy two, get one, or something like that, because I want to drop my price so that you have a lot of product in your pantry or at home or whatever it is, so that you don't consider this new product that's coming out from competitors. And so what my competitors are going to do, what is going to happen to supply and demand and forecasting, all lead to this idea that pricing is dynamic. So you often set kind of a base price, but then you're sort of changing that base price based on sales and promotions and what's going on in the market. So pricing is not a static thing. On the right there, we're going to talk in a second about a bunch of more tactical things that people do from a dynamic pricing perspective. But I wanted to talk about the matrix on the right, because there are also some things that people do sort of strategically, if you will, with pricing, but that is using changes in pricing. So there's a grid there on the right, and it talks about 4 different sort of approaches to pricing. So the 2 sort of ones that we are probably most used to are the ones in the bottom left and the upper right corner. So premium pricing is, I set my price high for usually a high quality product. This might be Gucci bags or whatever. And I basically set my price and I don't really change it. High price, for a high quality, limited good, whatever it is, I'm trying to, command a high price. And the economy price is the opposite. Low price, often lower quality product, but I'm giving you a lower price that is, always low. I'm, sort of like the Walmart sort of view of the world. I'm always giving you low prices every day. There are in the other 2 corners, though, is there are 2 other pricing strategies. One pricing strategy is called skimming. You often see skimming with technical products. So the skimming idea is, I'm going to set my price very high when I first launch a product, and then I'm going to drop the price later. And the reason is because I know there's a group of people out there that wants to have the latest iPhone and doesn't care how much it costs. So I'm going to charge them a little bit more for this new product. And then over time, I'm going to have that, whatever, the iPhone 13 model, I'm going to drop the price of that. I'm going to launch a new model, the iPhone 14 or whatever it is. And people are going to, the people that care about having the latest are going to pay more. And the people who are like, I'm not willing to pay that much, are going to pay less. And so it's a dynamic pricing approach where I start with a very high price to skim the people at the top of the market that are willing to pay more, and I make profit off of them. And then I drop that price down and get the mass market, or at least a larger market, over time. So that's a price skimming kind of approach. There's another approach, sort of the opposite, which is called a penetration pricing kind of approach. And this is where I'm trying to get as many people to try my product as possible. So what I do is I drop the price low when I launch my new product in order to get many, many people to try it at a low cost. And then I raise the prices. So typically the way you would do this would be, when you launch a product, you maybe launch it as on sale, right? I'm going to launch a buy one, get one, or something like that, or buy a bag of, regular Oreos and get a bag of, birthday cake Oreos for free, or whatever it is, because I'm trying to get you to try that. So that's a penetration strategy. I'm usually, this would be, often with packaged goods, you see this, or sometimes with software or apps, they let you they're like, I'm going to let you use this app for free for 3 months. But after 3 months, I'm going to start charging you whatever, $20 a month for this app. That is a penetration strategy. I'm trying to get you to try my product and then stay and become a loyal user over time. So those are the skimming strategy and the penetration strategy are dynamic pricing strategies. They're not just, I'm going to set my price and then forget it. I'm going to actually use how I change my price over time to sort of drive the way the market, is introduced to my product. Again, it depends on what you're trying to do. And often you see with high-end luxury goods, et cetera, that they are using a skimming approach because they are going after the people who really want to be the first. are willing to pay more. And then over time, as that product becomes sort of more known and whatever, it isn't so unique, now I'm going to open it up and make that product available at a lower price to a larger market, who, maybe is following, whatever, I don't know, Kim Kardashian or whatever bought something. So at some very high price, now I'm going to follow her, months later when the price drops, because I want to sort of be like her. In the meantime, she's moved on to something else. So that's a skimming approach. And then a penetration approach, again, is about starting at a low price and giving people the option to have, make less of an investment in order to try something. So down the bottom there, the summary for this slide is that pricing is both dynamic and strategic, is one of the few marketing mix element levers that can be adjusted, quote unquote, on the fly. In other words, I can make changes to my pricing pretty easily, because all I need to do is just let people know, hey, I'm charging more for this product. Even if I sell through a retailer, I'm charging more through this product, and it will drive the price up. Or I can go to a retailer and say, I'd like to put this on sale, and you basically offer them, some dollars, so that they're not losing out on the profit. They're getting trade dollars from you, and then they put it on sale. So pricing is a lever that you can pull. Which leads me to this next page about pricing tactics. There are a lot of different tactics that people use to indicate and get people to see a product's price as being a really good value from a price perspective. We've talked about the idea of value being like, what do I get for the product? But what do I pay for the product is sort of the other part of the value equation. And so a lot of tactics used to sort of to convince people to buy more or buy now or whatever it is, because you're using price as a tactical lever. So for example, EDLP, Walmart uses an EDLP strategy. This stands for everyday low pricing. So they drop the price. They have lower prices in general than other retailers. So when you go to Walmart that you are getting good low prices. So that is a strategy. It's not to say that Walmart never does sales. They do sales that they call rollbacks, but they tend to be longer. Whereas in a grocery store, you might see a sale for a week. In a Walmart, you'd probably see a rollback. I think they typically run, sometimes 2 months or something like that. So that is an EDLP strategy. I'm not driving prices up and down from on a day-to-day basis. I'm not changing the prices. I'm setting the price very low. So that's one pricing tactic that you see out there. The sort of opposite of that, right below the EDLP sign there, is that sales sign is called high-low pricing. This is when you're $5 one day, 1 week, and then the next week you're 2 for $5. And you see this in a lot of grocery stores and so forth, where there are sales of products, and so a company like a Nabisco or whatever can't afford to have their product on sale all the time, but they are essentially paying the retailer to run a sale or run a certain number of sales throughout the year. Again, that goes back to that sort of trade marketing and trade planning that we talked about. So they run these sales throughout the year. And so sometimes their price is lower, sometimes their price is higher, and they're trying to pick the right weeks where they can sort of get the most bang for their buck. There's sort of seasonality that comes into play, holidays that come into play, the Super Bowl, getting things on sale when people are planning to stock up for the Super Bowl can be really valuable, because they're making a decision of like, do I want, Fritos or do I want Doritos or whatever it is? So what's on sale sort of, determines what I'm going to buy and so forth. The supermarkets, the retailers like this sort of high-low thing, because there is a group of consumers who like to sort of do what you might call a treasure hunt when they shop. They like to find sales. They like to feel like they're getting a bargain. And so essentially when you go to, say, a Stop and Shop or a Wegmans or whatever, and you see products going on and off sale, is people sort of go in and they're like, oh, let's see what's on sale this week. And they like that. They appreciate that. Whereas in the Walmart shopper tends to be like, I just want to be able to go into a Walmart and know that I'm getting a good price, and I don't really want to think about it. So it's interesting, because if you look at, and we'll look at this in a minute, but and on the next slide, but when you look at sort of Walmart prices versus say Stop and Shop prices, is Walmart prices are on average going to be lower, but they are not always the lowest price in the market, because they are sort of keeping a everyday price that's low, whereas the whereas another other retailers are going up and down, and so they might be lower than Walmart, they might not. So again, it depends. Like, do I want to know that I can go and just do a full shopping trip and everything's going to be a pretty darn good price, and I'm not going to really have to worry about it or think about it? Or do I really like that kind of treasure hunt? I like to find what's on sale, and this is the way I like to shop. Just depends on how you want to shop. Different customers like to shop different ways. And this goes all back to, the 4 Ps of the retailers offering, right? They're using the price as part of their 4P strategy, and the way they position EDLP versus high-low. If you have ever noticed that products tend to be $9.99 instead of $10, there's really no difference in reality, 1 penny. But psychologically, it does turn out that what they call left digit pricing is a real thing. So when you see something as $9.99, you think that your brain assumes that it is cheaper than something that is $10, even though there's 1 penny difference. Because your brain sort of looks at that digit, that left digit, that 9, and goes, oh, that's lower, right? So you see $9.99. Sometimes in places you'll see something slightly different, which is they'll sell something for like $9.95. This is an attempt to signal, hey, we're even lower than the people that would have we're 4 cents lower than the people that have a 99-cent ending. We have a 95-cent ending. So sometimes you see that as well. But again, this is sort of to get people's brains to go, oh, that's cheap because it's under $10. I mean, yes, it's technically under $10. It's 1 penny under $10. It doesn't really matter that much in reality, but from a psychology perspective, there is a real effect where you think it's less. The next one down the bottom, discounting. There's a couple different ways that people do it. Sometimes you'll see a sale that's 50% off. And sometimes you'll see a sale that is like buy one, get one. And technically the price of the product is the same in a buy one, get one as it is when you're 50% off. But the psychology of it is, well, now I have to buy 2. Why would you want to do this? Well, let's say I use the example on the previous slide of you might want people to stock up on something. So you want to give them a BOGO, a buy one, get one, because I want you to buy, multiple, let's say you're buying paper towels or something. I want you to buy multiple packages of paper towels because I want to sort of block out my competitors from, selling the paper towels and whatever. And the retailer likes this because it's a pretty cool thing to be able to say, hey, you can buy one and get, basically getting one free seems somehow better than getting 2 of them at 50% off. But it does get people to buy more and move more volume through the system. Couponing is another tactic that people use for some consumers. Again, this goes back to that high-low sale. For some consumers, this is really important. They like that sense of I got a bargain and that I did something that not everybody else did. And so I got a better deal than other people will get. There are some people who coupon religiously and will literally go shopping at multiple different stores based on what they see in the circular and what coupons they have and so forth. So they might do, stop to 3 stores to get all of the cheapest stuff. Other people, I'm one of them, could not, do not have the patience to go to different stores to, get the best deal. But for some people, that's something that, you'll have people who say, oh, I used all these coupons and I only paid, whatever, $30 for $120 worth of groceries, right? And they're literally making decisions on what they're buying based on what they've got coupons are for, what's in the circular ad, et cetera, and trying to get the lowest price. So for a certain type of consumer, for a very sort of frugal, price conscious, kind of, I like to find deals kind of behavior in a consumer target. That is something that's really important. The next one I will talk about is up in the upper right there. It's called a quantity discount. You see this all the time, but you often see it in apps these days. Like if you want an app and you buy it for 1 month or 1 month at a time, it's maybe $15 a month. But if you buy it for the whole year, maybe it's only $150. So essentially in essence, you're getting the equivalent of 2 months free. But because you're paying $150 and you're locking yourself in, they're going to give you a volume discount because you're buying essentially, 12 months at a time instead of 1 month at a time. So they know they're getting more, they're getting, profit. They're willing to give up some of the profit they would have gotten if you had bought it on a month-to-month basis, because they're getting a whole 12 months worth of payment out of you. You often see this also in the software world where, if you have one user, it costs, whatever, $25. But if you have whatever, I can't read exactly what's on that slide there, but if you have 10 users, maybe it's $50. And if you have 100 users, maybe it's only $75, or it's sorry, this is, I'm saying this the wrong way. Depending on how much, how you would pay for this, I guess the example that's up there is more sort of that monthly example. But like, if I have one user, I'm going to charge one rate. And if I have 10 users, I might charge a different rate. The other thing that happens sometimes is they're bundling more features in. So, maybe I charge you $10 or $15 a user if you're the only user, but I'll charge you $10 a user if you have 10 users, and I'll charge you $7.50 per user if you have 1,000 users or whatever. That's another way to do a volume discount. So quantity discounts are another way of sort of kind of using pricing tactics to try and get people to buy more or to lock people in. And the last one I'll talk about is markdowns. And in a markdown situation is really a kind of discounting situation, but it's often used with seasonal products. So this would be like, when you go into a clothing store in August and they are marking down, meaning significantly dropping the price of their summer clothing because they want to clear that clothing out and get the fall clothing in. And people probably aren't going to buy that, those summer clothes at full price. And they've kind of made all of the money that they can on the product that they sold earlier in the season. So now they're going to drop the price way down to try and move that through. Sometimes you'll see clearance sales and so forth. Another place that you often see markdowns is in in candy, for example. We used to see a lot of markdowns on seasonal candy because the day after Halloween, Halloween candy isn't all that valuable anymore. I've noticed, for example, after the holidays in the post office, they basically will sell the Christmas and Hanukkah stamps for a lower price because they are trying to move through those and not have all that inventory because people aren't, basically going to buy that. And some people are like, I don't care whether it's Christmas or Hanukkah stamp, I'll just take the cheap stamps. So that's the kind of thing that where you see markdowns are often when you're trying to move either old product or outdated product or seasonal product out of the store. So businesses use a variety of pricing tactics to try to drive sales and remain competitive. The tactics that they use impact brand perception and are a part of the value proposition. So it's not that these are just sort of like, oh, I've got my price and I've set it and that's what my price is, and then I'm doing these sort of tactics on the side. The type of tactics that you're using is often part of the value proposition, especially for the retailer. Again, Walmart using EDLP versus, say, Stop and Shop using a high-low is part of their brand. It's part of the way they offer their product to you. So again, pricing very, very, dynamic, tactical, in addition to those strategies that we talked to in the previous session. My real life example for today, I thought I would share this sort of thing that you sometimes see this in supermarkets. And what they do is they will have a basket full of groceries. So in this case, you can see this is something that was set up in a Winco Foods, which is a supermarket. I'm not sure exactly where that chain is. I think it's in the Midwest, but in a Winco Foods. And they're saying this basket of groceries was purchased here at Winco, and it was $99.28. And then we went to a Fred Meyer, which is a different grocery chain, and the same groceries were $143.60. And we went to a Walmart and it was $139.65. And so you look at that and go, wow, this is a really cheap, Winco must be really cheap. Except what's happened here is that Winco essentially cherry picked all the products they had on sale that particular week. So when you do this kind of promotion, you can usually only do this for a week or a week or two, because those products are going to go off sale pretty quickly. But the moment they're off sale, who knows? Maybe these products would cost, $150. They cost $99 because they purposely picked all the stuff that was on sale at Winco. So Fred Meyer, for example, could do this exact same exercise and pick a bunch of products that it has on sale, and it would win this battle because it was it's picking just the products that are on sale, and so therefore getting to a lower price. So then you say, well, what's going on with Walmart over there? Well, what's going on with Walmart over there is, again, you've cherry picked these things. So notice that Walmart is cheaper than Fred Meyer for these products, because Walmart probably doesn't have any of these products on sale. They're just at their low everyday price. So the value of going to Walmart is, that the prices are going to be better on average, but the downside of going to Walmart is you're not going to get those high-low sales. So if you are willing to just buy products that are on sale and you make your product decisions based on what's on sale, then going to a Winco or Fred Meyer is a good idea, because you will just say, okay, I'm just going to buy the stuff that's on sale and I'll decide what I'm going to eat this week, based on what I can find that's cheap. Whereas if you want to go someplace where the prices are always good on everything, you might go to a Walmart, because you don't have to think about buying the products that are on sale. And so if you want to buy the stuff that you want to buy, as opposed to buying the stuff that is on sale, you might say Walmart's a better choice for me. So these kinds of promotions, they're not false advertising, because it's true. But they are a little bit misleading, because essentially this says, if you buy all our stuff that's on sale, you will get the cheapest price. Whereas if you were to buy all the products that are on sale at Fred Meyer, you'd probably find it's much cheaper than Winco, right? So it's a little bit misleading, but a lot of times grocery stores do this. By the way, and because of sort of laws and so forth, typically what you can see there is they actually have the printed receipts from each of the different grocers. Is you actually have to legally show the receipt. You have to say what day it was purchased on, so you can see this order was purchased on August 28th, and then typically you only have a certain amount of time where you can run this program before you would have to go and shop another batch of products again, because chances are that Fred Meyer is going to have some of those products that are in that basket what's on sale is going to change. And so the price that you're saying on your sign there is not going to be the price anymore. So a little bit of when I was in the grocery world, we didn't do this kind of thing very often, because it actually takes a lot of work. You actually have to send somebody out who actually goes and shops the product. Grocery stores have different prices in every market, so you'd have to actually send, in every small geography, the Stop and Shop that is across the street from a Wegmans will have different prices than the Stop and Shop that's across the street from a Market Basket, for example, here in Boston. And so you actually have to send people out and do the shops in lots of different places, lots of different markets to actually get this right, and so forth. So it turns out this is a very hard kind of promotion to execute. But if you ever see it, just know that it's not false, but it is a little misleading. If your takeaway from this is Winco always has better prices, that's not true. What this is really just telling you is, like, if you only buy the things that are on sale at Winco, it will be cheaper than going to these other places. But it's also true that if you went on to Fred Meyer and only bought the things that were on sale at Fred Meyer, you would probably get those things cheaper. And so the question is, do you always buy only the things that are on sale, or do you buy lots of things because you need to, feed your family and all those things? So with that, that's sort of the tactics of pricing. So we've talked about strategy of pricing. We've talked about tactics of pricing. Next time, we're going to talk about some long-term things that happen with pricing, namely inflation and commoditization, and how that sort of impacts the way you need to think about pricing.